All right, welcome back to another episode of the Mic'd Up Savages. I'm here today with Murph, and we are discussing how Brian Cashman roasted Gary Sanchez in a news conference. I think it was yesterday or today. Murph, you haven't heard this yet, so I'm very excited for your raw reaction. But he was asked a question on why Gary Sanchez was benched in the postseason. He said, I think the whole world knows why he was benched. You had a horrible year on both sides of the ball. You lost your job in the most important time of the season, which is October baseball. Play speaks for itself, and you either play well enough to keep playing or you don't.
Wow.
What do you think of that? Because I think he's finally had it with the media asking about Gary Sanchez and with Gary Sanchez getting chances. I think this may light a fire under him, but I'd like to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I think it's one of those things where he's tired of that same question. I think it's every year you hear the roundup, the end of the year, like kind of like press conference where they sum up the year and sum up players' performances, and every year it seems like it's the same question: is Gary Sanchez going to be a starting catcher? Is he that guy? And finally, he gives a glimpse at the end of this year where he's like, we're going to evaluate all our options. Right? He's being honest. Like, he doesn't know who our starting catcher is. And here you go. In this presser, he's basically no filter, just letting it all out. Like, hey, he was bad for us. He was really bad. And he needs to step up, right? If he doesn't step up and play, we'll go find someone else. And who knows who that someone else would be, but as of right now, I wouldn't buy too much into it. He's not going to go out and sign JT for all of you crazy fans out there, even though JT's already signed. So of course, he's not going to do that. But, like, he's not going to do something like that. He's not going to go make any bold trades like that. It's going to be Gary at least until the All-Star break would be my guess. But, yeah, hopefully this does light a spark under his butt. Hopefully this gets him going. You know, Gary, like, Cashman's tired of having these conversations about him, right? He doesn't have to have these conversations about pretty much anyone else. It's just Gary consistently. Like, is Gary the catcher? Is Gary the catcher?
On a literal consistent basis. Like, it's not like, is DJ LeMahieu the second baseman? Is Giovanni Urshela going to play third base every day? Like, it's always Gary. There hasn't been anyone else, really, you know? And I feel bad for the guy at this point because now he literally publicly got roasted.
Yeah, he needed it, though. He needed it. This is like a wake-up call, hopefully.
This may actually light a fire. Like, I really believe that this is going to light a fire under him because this is all over media. Everyone's talking about it from what I've seen. It's like finally, dude, finally.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, for most of the time you take the gamble if you're a GM talking bad about players. That's why you don't typically see it a whole lot in the baseball world because it could backfire, right? You could have a player just completely shut down on you. But at this point, Cashman's like, hey, what am I really going to lose? Like, he's already been terrible for like 2 seasons consistently. You can argue 19 isn't too bad, but it's not where it needed to be. And he definitely wasn't where he needed to be this year. So he's hoping that, hey, maybe this is the last chance. He's basically letting Gary know, like, hey, this is it, right? You got maybe half the season to prove your worth, maybe a full season depending on how things go. But this could be it. This could be Gary's final season in pinstripes if he doesn't step up in a big way for us this year.
You said Cashman's tired of having these conversations with Gary Sanchez. I really think he's just tired of having conversations with players on this team, like having to deal with conversations like this. Like, it's like I think he wants these players on the roster. He wants these guys. He likes the team. This is why he's publicly talking about Gary Sanchez. I think he likes him. He would have been gone by now if he didn't. But like, he had the talk with remember he went out to go talk to the team after that horrible stretch last year. I think he's had enough. He has enough of this crap with the team, you know, enough of like hanging your heads when shit goes bad. So now he had it with Gary, and then the team turned around after he had this conversation with them. They kind of, you know, re-picked it back up and ready in time for playoffs. And hopefully this picks Gary. I think this will work. I really do think this will work.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Gary already had something lit under his butt, at the end of this offseason, finishing the way he did and going to the Winter League. Although I'm not really sure how he finished in the Winter League. I think he did pretty good. I can't remember. I know he had a few home runs, and you'd like to see that. Um, but yeah, I think he was already kind of like motivated to do well. And hopefully this is like the final step, like the final push over the edge to really get him going again. Um, but yeah, I think Cashman's just in general like tired of people doubting this team. Like you said, I think he has a lot of faith in his players, a lot of faith in these guys, and he's tired of people being like, "Why aren't you going to luxury tax? Why aren't you going out and spending for X, Y, Z? Why aren't you doing this and that and that and the other?" So I think he's tired of people asking the same stupid questions, the same over and over and over. Like replace Gary, trade him. He's like, I'm not going to do that because in his heart and his mind, he thinks this team should have won 2, maybe 3 rings already, right? He thinks this
and
team
they really could have. They really
could have, and he thinks this team is more than talented enough to do it. Even that's why he's so set on running it back, minus unfortunately a Tanaka and a Paxton and a Happ, right? Guys like that. But other than those guys, he's set on running this lineup back. He's set on doing it again. He thinks his lineup is more than talented enough to do it. It's just a matter of getting the rotation right, and he thinks this high risk approach can do that. This like Kluber, Callejon, Herman, Severino line. One of these guys will pan off and get us to the final stage. And I think, yeah, ultimately this is like the built-up pressure and the boiling point where he's just like, yeah, we know he's bad. Obviously, we know he's bad. Everyone knows he's bad, but at the end of the day, he's our guy. We have to roll with him.
Do you think this is coming from Hal and the top, or do you think this is his own doing?
Probably a mix of both. I'd say. I think Hal is definitely like, from everything I've heard, Hal is just like, obviously I think he's one of the biggest Yankee fans ever. Obviously, he owns the teams, right? But I think he truly cares about the team. He wants to see it succeed. People don't want to believe that because obviously he's not spending all the money we'd like him to spend on a yearly basis. But I think at the end of the day, you have to be smart with your money. You can't just go blowing it, especially when you don't know what to say the next season's going to be. So I think in a sense he's being smart with that. You never know. He could go over. He could be willing to go over by the trade deadline. But yeah, I mean, I think Hal's frustrated because he thinks this team should have multiple rings. This should be like a dynasty team in his eyes. Cashman feels the same exact way. So we have all the pieces. It's just a matter of health and guys stepping up and really performing the way we expect them to. And Gary's no exception.
It's just time to go out there and do it now. So
yeah,
I'm very happy that he said this. I think I'm gonna go back on the hype train of Gary Sanchez.
I've been on it, for the record. I've already been on it.
He's been on it. I was on it. I took a pit stop, but now I'm back on it because in my heart of hearts, I believe that this will change him. So, Yankee.
Dude, I hope.
Yeah, we need him to step up.
We need something.
Because the thing is, he's healthy all the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time, he's healthy. So it's not like he's been injured and he's been out and then he comes back and puts up bad numbers because then there's an excuse. But he hasn't had that excuse. So I just, I really do believe this will light a fire under him. Yankee fans, stay tuned. He will have a good 2021 season. It'll be a comeback season for Gary Sanchez. You heard it here first. Murph's overreacting because, I'm actually saying something positive about Gary Sanchez.
I've been saying this, dude. I said he's going to hit 270. He's going to get you at least 30 home runs. And he's going to get you, obviously, depending on how long the season's going to be. If it's a standard 162-game season, which I hear they're already arguing about, I'm not excited about those talks.
He said 154 now.
And they're like, no. And I'm like, no. If we dip below 100, we're going to have problems, MLB. We're going to have problems. Okay? But I'm saying 270, 30 home runs, and we'll say 75 RBIs.
That's perfectly fine with me. That is perfectly fine with me.
That is my prediction for the end of the year.
And I hope
Hal Sanchez, Kraken.
And I hope that is also good for all of you, those numbers. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you, Murph, for joining me on this episode yet again. The season's coming in hot. I can't wait. They better figure it out. We'll see y'all in the next episode. Thank you.